Alright, so we were talking about something about first web placement.
Yeah, so the first web
Like, yeah.
placement, the initial web placement, I think I mentioned something along the lines of that it was the most important web placement.
Mhm.
But then I
You
kind of
s-
I simplified it, right? Because I said that even though it's the most important, it's usually just really only containing two variations. The
yeah.
first variation is we'll start with the second variation because it's more uncommon, but it's actually
Mhm.
the one that you have right now. The first
Mhm.
web that you placed is very much similar to the first web that I'll place, only against a certain line of heroes, and these are the heroes that I expect to get pushed into my lane very early on. These are, um, but not limited to, axes, legion commanders, sometimes usually timber saws, and the such like. I'm talking about the heroes that dark seers, or tide hunters. They usually send these heroes against you solo, and what these heroes do is they push your lane into your tower. And so I place my first web basically where you have your first web, just because
Mhm.
I expect to get pushed into my tower anyways, and I don't need
Yeah.
they don't usually block the creep wave, and furthermore, like I said, they
Mhm.
usually push it really hard. So I don't need to have a web super far out here in the middle of the lane because I'm not going to be there for very long.
Mhm.
That's the second variation. The first variation is not what you have, and the first variation, by the way, is probably what you should focus on learning as much as possible, or not necessarily learning. Like I'm going to tell you what it is, and then you're going to like do it every game. But
Mhm.
understanding why it's good is what you should try to look into and investigate. So for this exercise, I think it's best. We'll save this replay so we can look at it. But I just want to get into a custom game and show you where it is. Okay?
Mhm.
Is that okay?
Yeah. I have to wait for you to create one, right? Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There we go. I'll be on your team. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. You said you can hear me, right?
Yeah. I can hear you. It's
You
all
can
good.
you can hear me like clearly enough, like I'm not mumbling.
Yeah. Yeah. I've put you up under 200%. It's all good.
If anything's unclear, you just let me know.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm gonna turn cheats on, but like obviously, like
I, it's not letting me pick Brood Mother.
it doesn't matter who you. It really you're just here to spectate so that I can show you
Yeah.
where the webs are.
All right.
So I guess I'll talk a bit about the first web. What we're essentially trying to accomplish with this web is, well, again, it's against matchups that we don't predict are going to push us in too hard to our
Mhm.
tower at the early game. It gives us the flexibility to adjust our webs. Both web placements give you flexibility because you can have two webs up at the start of the game. But the first web option that I'm going to show you here is more flexible depending on how they want to push the lane themselves. It gives you
Mhm.
maximum sentry control, well, about as good as it gets in all the common spots, and it kind of lets you own the lane a lot more than any other web placement.
Mhm.
The placement on it isn't too tight. It doesn't like you don't have to be like frame perfect. You don't like I'm gonna show you where I place the webs, but don't read too hard into it and be like, oh,
Yeah.
so it's at this exact bush and this exact tree. Like, don't read into
Yeah.
it like that. Just get like a general idea from what I'm talking about, and I'll show you it on both
Mhm.
sides. Okay?
All right.
So again, I'm using cheats, but like the general concept here is the same. So do you see where I am?
Yeah. Trying to just get enough gold for a win-less,
Yeah, yeah.
or just TPs or something.
Yeah.
Whatever.
You don't need to be up here. Just look at me. Can you see me?
Yeah.
Yeah, you see me
Watching.
here. Yeah, okay. So I'm gonna
Mhm.
place the web. I usually try to place it around right here. Okay. I guess I should have bought a sentry for this. That would have been productive. So
Mhm.
maybe you'll start with like a sentry and a ward. So check this out. Okay. Um,
Yep.
this web right here. Again, it's not like frame perfect or anything like that. Maybe it could be a little bit. Maybe it could be like kind of like this or something like that. But the idea
Yep.
still stands here. What we're trying to do with this web, is we're trying to
Mhm.
control every area where somebody could come up and place a sentry out in the open. Like, right, if somebody
Mhm.
came up like this, then as long as we have our sentry, oh crap, I don't know why it didn't copy my sentries. One sec. Should have copied my sentries. So yeah, if some
Mhm.
enemy support places a sentry right here, then
Mhm.
we will have our sentry, either we click on their inventory and we see if they drop the sentry off, or we
Mhm.
just preemptively, if you're lazy, you can preemptively put a sentry right here, and then once they place one right here, you'll just be able to kill it like this,
Mhm.
because you'll know it's there and stuff like that. So it's real easy. You get pretty good control. You can like briefly you can walk on this side, walk through here with pretty good ease. You
Mhm.
have
Uh,
like I said, you have
I have
options. Sorry.
one question about this. It doesn't give you access to the secret shop though without breaking the invis, right?
So
Let me
you said-
check.
You mean the side shop, right? And,
Sorry, yeah, that's what I meant, side shop.
The answer to that
You
is
have to
no.
be
You
here.
can stand. You can stand like right over here. It's usually not that big of a deal. If you're gonna get a soul ring, which is pretty much like the first item you're gonna rush in almost every game, what you're gonna do, generally speaking, is you're gonna probably walk a little bit like right here. It doesn't really matter if you show yourself too much. Like if I mean, next I usually place a web down here or up here, depending. Sorry, it broke the web, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll usually place the web up or down depending. In some certain circumstances, if I'm against like a tri-lane or something like that, I'll place it down here. Or not even really, I'll put it like down here. So that I can like sit in these trees and just kind of chill. And
Yeah.
you can abuse this area on the Radiant side really easily. Like look at where I am.
Yeah.
I'm like swimming in a
I,
lot of
I was doing that before,
Yeah.
just like walking around.
Like, what are they even gonna do? I mean, they can do things, by the way, and if you get hit when you're down here, you actually teleport, like, right here, which is bad.
Yeah.
It's like,
Or like I think up here as well, because I was doing that before, and as soon as I'd like lost free pathing, it would send me up here.
This isn't actually, like, you can't
Sorry,
actually,
down here.
yeah, I was gonna say,
That's
you can't,
right.
yeah, you can't actually walk on this side of the map, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be either here, there, or there.
Yeah,
One of those
exactly,
three spots,
exactly. Because like these are trees. Like if I had tangos, I could eat them, but I can't stand on this location, to my knowledge. Let me try actually, because I've never actually tried it. I didn't need to do this.
I think only if you have webs you can.
Well, yeah, I just mean like if I eat the trees, maybe it's the trees that are preventing people from walking up here. I don't know. Can I get stuck up here? Yeah, I didn't think so. So this is like a weird little place in Dota. Like,
It's that cliffing thing. So like if a pudge hooks you somewhere that's impassable, you get down. So like places like here and stuff, you can still be stuck there. But I think there's some weird ones like here where for some reason, like either maybe it's really hard to get down or something, or there's no like some sort of, I don't know. But yeah.
I know what you're talking about. I just mean like it's.
Yeah, I read it in the patch. I remember.
Yeah. But somewhat besides the point, what I'm just trying to say is this web right here on Radiant side, it's very good because it gives you a lot of control over every avenue of the lane. The only time this kind of web becomes dangerous is if you lose control over this little like this little area right here. If they come in here as like two supports and they place a sentry and they snipe your sentry before you get a hold of theirs and then they push you out of here, then this becomes like a no-go. And then in those cases, what I'll do is sometimes like I'll cancel this web and kind of like replace it over here, and then usually they're pushing you in because they don't want to place sentries here and here. So what they're going to do is they'll place a sentry here and then they'll start pushing the wave in, and then they'll start placing sentries right here, and then I'll just sit right up here all game. You know, I always have access to the secret shop because I can just walk right over here. Easy game.
Yeah.
And I'll just be last hitting right here, right under my tower. I myself try to deward these locations as quickly as possible because these, having wards outside your tower on the enemy team, like when the enemy team has wards right outside your, literally right outside your tower.
You're basically stuck. Yeah.
Yeah, you are really fucked. They can make easy dives because they'll know when you go up for last hits even before you could make the last hit, and then they'll dust you, and then they'll stun you, and then you're just fucked. So that's kind of like. That's my what would you call it? My web placement on Radiant.
Yeah.
My web placement.
Oh yes, sorry.
So when you're on the dire team, right? When you're on the dire team, not when I know that we're on Radiant, but just imagine I'm on dire here, okay?
Can I say one thing before we move on to the dire side about the Radiant side?
Yeah, you're good.
If I put a web with the edge sort of touching here, so maybe like basically from before the edge of your web was touching roughly the stairwell here, I'll put the ward down. It was touching roughly there. If I maybe make a touch here so that it still sort of covers this general tree area, yeah, something like that. You'd have access to the secret shop then, and you could like sit in these trees and get it. Because like I find that normally that's what really gets me. I go to the side shop, and if someone spots me, that's a lot of the time, depending on like the matchup, then they know to dust me or whatever. And dust, yeah, you can't get rid of as easily as sentry wards.
So we're talking about like basically putting a web right here in the middle of the lane, right?
Yeah.
There's a few reasons. They're kind of minuscule, but again, like small things do add up. I do think that these reasons that I'm about to list are like cumulatively enough reason to make me not want to place a web like this. Firstly, as I told you before, the secret shop is nice to, now you got me saying. The side shop is like nice to somewhat like have access to, but I don't ever feel the need to like completely be immersed in my webs to access them. Like I said earlier, if you get the web right, you can stand right here and not even reveal yourself. But again, like it's not that big of an investment to just walk off it real quick, and then like if you're really scared that like a support's gonna see you when you come back on, you can walk out and then like walk in through this and then be cool.
Mhm.
Like, there's ways to be incognito about it. The second thing is, right, this is a big thing, is you lose a lot of
Mhm.
control over this area. So when you want to kill a support that's like running back to their whatever, to like they run this way, like they run off your webs,
Mhm.
having a web like right here is really nice because you
Mhm.
can chase them outside of the trees. They're going to walk over here to place a sentry here, right? You're going to be sitting right here.
Mhm.
You'll snipe the ward, and then it'll go get like a free pot shot, a few free
Mhm.
pot shots on their webs and stuff. Having control just like of the outer area of where they'd be walking up to place a sentry is very crucial. Also, you can control
Yeah.
pulls a lot better. So if I don't have the web here, if I have the web like right here in the middle of the lane, I can't control a pull at all. Right? I have to place 2 webs at the start of the game if I want to control a
Yeah.
pull. Now what happens?
Yeah, I get that.
If they push, or if my lane
Yes.
pushes, I'm fucked, right? I have to get rid of this
Mhm.
web, and that's never a good feel. You don't want to get rid of webs
Mhm.
in the early game as Brood. You want to keep your webs and just level up webs and have
Yeah.
that. So, like I said, it's because of those like 2 big reasons that I want to control pulls, and that I want to have just a more I want to have the ability to contest supports a little bit easier when they go to place. Because this right here, make no mistake, this area right here of like no vision but like great area for sentries. This is like the highly contested
Yeah.
spot for Brood. And I could be
Yeah, I learned that. Yeah.
yeah. This is like Brood either lives or dies by these little like
Mhm.
tree culminations.
And
When sometimes cores will come to lane and they'll do this. They'll start cutting down all your trees in here. That's like a
yeah.
double-edged sword for them. It's not even necessarily bad for you if they do this. It
They
makes
can't ward then.
yeah, I
Yeah.
was gonna say it makes your sentries more exposed, but it also makes their sentries more exposed. And just in general, I appreciate vision on Broodmother. I like vision. I like having vision. Like if I have a spider here, it's gonna see everything. Chop this tree down, put a spider like right here or something like that. Like it's gonna see everything if I have the webs placed correctly. Like, so yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So.
sorry.
Mhm.
I fight.
Okay.
I just want to say this real quick. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Sure.
Because this is important.
All good.
This
All good.
area is a lot better to fight for sentry control than this area. When there's too many trees, this is important. When there's too many trees, then some enemy supports can start doing bullshit like this. See that sentry right there? That sentry
Yeah.
right there? Or if you're up here, they'll start doing shit like this. They'll put sentries like right here, here, and here. These are like the death sentries. You will never find these sentries. If you're trying to deward these sentries, like if you walk over here as Broodmother, right, and you think you're safe, you're like, let's say your first web is somewhere like right. This is like I see Broods do this, and I always face palm when they place their first 2 webs are like right here. They don't even try to fight for this side of the map. They just place their webs here. When you do this, you're spreading yourself way too thin. Right? If the enemy support places a sentry right here, and you don't know where that is, and you don't know where to pinpoint it because you're just sitting right here, they walk over here, and then they start smacking you, and you start running up here, and they get a few tail end auto attacks on you, and you can't pinpoint where their sentry is, then you might be tempted to be like place a sentry here, or place a sentry like right here. Then they're following you because they can still auto attack you. They see you place the sentry. You're not seeing their sentry because all these trees are blocking your line of sight.
Yeah.
And they're sniping.
They
your
deward
sentry.
all of them.
They deward all
Yeah.
of them, and you still can't find their sentry. This is like the death place for sentries. I never like to place webs here at the start of the game. I'd rather fight over this area where sentries are more exposed, right? Especially like with the trees cut down. But even when they're not cut down, you can still kind of see where a sentry is. So yeah, you'll get a lot less fidgety bullshit if you place your webs here. That's just like yeah. Is that good, or
Yeah.
do you have questions? Sorry.
No. Yeah. Like I understood it all. It's. I don't know. I feel like It's not really critique as such. It's like I do the same thing. It's like I go over a point a lot. Like even when I'm telling people, even though I understand things like better when it's like short and simple and like
I see what you mean.
yeah. So like
I do
it's not like
I do
yeah. I do the exact same thing when I'm talking, and then I hate the exact same thing when I'm listening.
When
If you get what I
listen
mean?
to it, yeah, I see what you're saying. I'll
Yeah.
try. Yeah, I'm not trying to treat you like a 5-year-old. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'll
no. Like I know you're not. I know you're trying to give me like every piece of information possible, but I don't know. It's hard. Like I've watched like Purge and stuff, and he kind of like even he does the exact same thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's yeah,
Since-
it just becomes a lot harder to memorize
I
like
see what
stuff
you're
and
saying.
remember it for later. Yeah.
And I said this last night, but I'll try to be more brief this time. Just because in this particular case, like where the web is basically symmetrical and we're trying to accomplish the same thing, like there's not much to talk about. Basically, the reason that I put the web right here as opposed to where you had it, which was like something like right here,
Yeah.
or at the start of the game you placed it like right here.
Yeah, and then put the second one here.
Yep. Yeah, as opposed to like right here. The reason is for basically the same reason. I want to control the area where I can hide sentries myself, and I can see when
Mhm.
enemies are trying to hide sentries pretty much clear as day. There's not too much guesswork as if you were trying to play with this
Mhm.
little tree collaboration. At the same time, you can control support rotations, and you can control the pole pretty easily. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of like the point.
How? What about accessing the side shop on this one? Is it like, because in that one you really actually can't get to it unless you're,
It's a bit more.
walking out of your web.
It's a bit more of a drag. I'd say the web was poorly placed. I usually try to do it something like this, which is still like, obviously I can't even like watch. Like I actually have to step off before I have access to the side shop. In this case, like
But
I said,
then,
sorry.
yeah, you have to be a bit more conscious of when you're going to the secret shop, right? Side shop, sorry. You have to do it like when the supports aren't like right next to you and stuff. Yeah.
So when I'm last hitting under tower, because that's what usually when I'd want to access the side shop anyways, is when I'm last hitting under tower, and then it sucks, but like you have to say to yourself as the brute player, you got to be like, okay, I got to give up a few last hits because this is the best time to go for this side shop because they won't expect it. You know what I mean? If they think you're last hitting and then you're going for the side shop, then like you throw them off, and they're not gonna expect it. By the time you get done with the side shop, like that is when they'll be guessing. So I won't have a
Yeah.
web here, but like I'll see a last hit. It's like a melee creep. I have to say, okay, I gotta forfeit that last hit. They'll be sitting right here because they want to they want to contest my last hits. They want to like right click me while I'm trying to last hit. I'll come over here. They probably won't even see me. I'll just come in here and get my item. If I'm really like desperate for an item, I can cancel this web if I want to. It sucks. Like I told you earlier, it's nothing you want to do, but if they have a sentry over here and you lost the sentry war anyways, then feel free. I don't try to screw around in too many locations where my enemy sees me. So if they do have sentries here and you can't deward them, then just go ahead and place the ward on the web on this side. Understanding that like the enemy, every time they place a sentry down, that's a commitment of 100 gold on their part. Makes your job a lot easier as the Broodmother player. You don't get so taxed when people ward the shit out of you. Like I played against games where like people will kill me 3 times in lane and they'll buy like 50 sentries and I'll be like, you know what, that's fine. You can kill me 3 times in lane, I don't care. Because you guys just bought like any gold that you made off of me was easily lost in detection, and the only thing that detection did for you guys was help you find me. It didn't help you kill my team. It didn't help you farm. It didn't really help them do anything. It just kind of secured their lane and killed me a few times. So yeah, but that's obvious. So
Yeah. I just want to make a quick point. It's basically all the stuff you're saying, like about things about assume it's like it's a lot of it I haven't experienced yet because of my bracket. Like, for example, like the complex ward sports. At most, I see them like place it in the open. After about 3 times, they like finally realize that, oh hey, he can see it pretty easily there. Then they put it here, and then literally the next 5 D wards that I get, they yeah, they literally place it there every single time after that, as if they don't know anything else. And with the team as well, like I can make a lot of space, especially in the games when they really try and shut me down. My team, most of the time, maybe it is a bit of like Dunning-Kruger or me just being tilted, but a lot of the time, at least 30 to 40%, they don't make that much out of it as they should. So if it's like the stuff you're saying about as if it was as if the teams are like at your level or at a, I don't know, 3 to 4K plus level. Oh, what the hell, creeps. I lost my train of thought now. Yeah, so like all that's good, but if you could also like direct it a bit more towards how I could sorry, I'm like stumbling over my words here. How I could pick the enemy apart sort of from the weaknesses that might happen at a lower bracket as well. Do you get what I mean? Or
yeah, I know what you mean. It kind of makes me sad though to hear you say it. So it sounds to me like you're saying like, Wired, help me exploit people that are bad at the game, and that's not like I don't know. That's not how I try to. I try to assume that my opponents are
yeah,
good.
I get how that sounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's.
I don't get me wrong though. Like
Mhm.
nobody's perfect, right? You could be playing against AK players, and they're still gonna make mistakes, and you should try to exploit enemies' mistakes anyways. So I'm not trying to tell you that like what you're saying has no merit. I'm just saying that it kind of sounds to me like you're telling me like, hey, I don't want to focus on this complex ward shit because it doesn't come up ever in my bracket. I'd rather focus on just trying to like take advantage of my opponents when they don't start any like the shaman last game started something like a clarity, tango, and a few iron branches instead of any sentries. Like, um. I see what you're trying to ask me, but at the same time, like, I feel like at the same time, that's very intuitive information. If they don't start detection, like, you're good. There's no outplay needed. Like, or sorry, the outplay is just natural. Like you're just going to naturally outplay them. If they can't see you, then it's not like you have to like I don't give you um, a potion and you drink it and then suddenly every time the opponents
Hmm.
don't start detection, you start winning those light and lane matchups. Like you just have an advantage. Like that's period. If they don't
Hmm.
start detection against you and your broodmother, like GG, like they fucked up. Then the onus is on you at that point to fuck up, right?
Hmm.
If they don't have detect, if they can't see you and you still lose that lane, like, I mean, if we could look at some replays that you lose, like this one, right? Like they didn't have detection in this lane, right? I think. And then you said you kind of
Hmm.
lost a little bit to the shaman. Let's go back to the replay and see how you lost because we can pick it apart and we can start seeing like how did you still manage to lose a replay or a game or sorry, a lane where they couldn't see you. So let's check this out.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I exactly lost it. I think towards the somewhere towards like the end, I was okay. I don't actually remember, but I'm not 100% sure it was actually lost. But we'll see.
Yeah.
What I did want to say though, about that, like it's totally valid, and I guess I probably do seem like any other average player in 1K who thinks you can get out by spamming your hero and stuff. I don't want you to think that of me, not just as a person, but because I kind of really pride myself on working harder than other people in general, and that's like one thing I credit to me getting 3K, like 3 times faster than it takes most people. But that being said, I do want to get this account as close to there as possible because not doing that and playing on a Smurf instead or making the new Smurf my main is really like a lot. And I'd rather get to 3K as possible and work from there instead of having to learn myself what are the things that I can do in a 1K game and then have to relearn all of that once I get back up to 3K. So I'm already learning enough bad habits as it is down here.
Okay. That's somewhat disheartening, but bad habits do as slowly as they die. There's something that will eventually. I mean, you'll have to shed them in one way or another. I think I
Hmm.
see where you're coming from. Um, I'm sorry, a second. I'm back in the replay. I'm at a minute in, so I'm just watching it and just kind of seeing like what goes on.
Minute.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go up to a minute. 1.5 times.
Yeah, I'm at 1 minute and 6 seconds right now.
1 minute, 6 seconds. I'll fast forward there. Are you paused?
Yeah, I'm paused.
All right. Ready?
Yep.
We're gonna start. Yeah.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, go.
Okay. So nothing too major yet. I mean, like he got a shackle off, and shackle does reveal for the duration that you're getting shackled, which sucks.
Hmm.
So it is something you have to be aware of in this lane. I don't know if you knew that, but you probably learned that in this lane, right?
Yeah, learned it pretty
Yeah,
quickly. Yeah.
yeah. It's something that like knowing about it preemptively can save you cheesy deaths if they don't shackle you until you like if you don't know about it and then they feel like you don't know about it, so they wait to
Mhm.
shackle you until the time they know it'll kill you. Then that really sucks because then you die for free. But then it's still your fault because you didn't know about the interaction. So yeah, if that makes any
Mhm.
sense.
Yeah.
Anyways, though, they played this lane pretty poorly so far. They pushed it in and didn't. I mean, they didn't buy detection first and foremost, which sucks, as I told you earlier. So they can't contest your CS here, your EXP, and then they pushed the lane in, so you got 2 lanes for free. So you're level 3. You didn't contest the pull. I don't know if you know this, but they pulled. I'm gonna pause here, and then I'm gonna go back 20 seconds, and then I'm gonna
Okay.
go.
So what time?
I'm at 2:08 right now.
2:08.
Yeah,
Okay.
I just hit the back 10 seconds button 2 times.
All right. Because I only see pulls in maybe 30% of games.
Um,
It's very very rare here. Yeah.
even
So
even
that's
if it's even
probably
if
my bad. Yeah.
well,
I should have been expecting it
let,
regardless. Yeah.
let me explain how pulls work exactly. So pulls, don't
Hmm.
get me wrong, like especially when I'm playing Broodmother, I don't expect them too often because pulling against a Broodmother can sometimes kill your like it's weird. Like literally like because the support has to leave the lane kind of, especially this guy pulled the easy camp, so he's so far away from his Ursa. And then also when you pull, your pulling is like an investment, right? You're pulling to initially upset the creeps in your opponent's favor for an investment that will eventually pay off because you're going to gain a creep advantage in terms of your EXP and your
Hmm.
CS, right? So this Ursa is eventually going to have more EXP than you because
Hmm.
the shaman pulled the creeps and you're not around the creeps when they die. It's
Hmm.
not exactly going to work that way just because he was splitting a creep lane with, or he's splitting a lane with his shadow shaman. So that like upset his creepy
Yeah.
his EXP. But what I'm trying to say is, um,
Yeah.
this pull is an investment for the future, but like I said, it has an initial down payment, so to speak, of upsetting the creep equilibrium. So this could have very easily killed this Ursa if you just took advantage of the fact that you have more creeps. Ursa does have a slow though, so it's kind of iffy. But nonetheless, what I was trying to say initially, pulling is something you should feel. If it's around, if it's approaching the 30-second mark, or the minute mark, respectively, that's you should use your creeps as a guideline, right? Your creep showed up in the lane, and he doesn't have creeps
Mhm.
following his lane, right? This is where you should be like, okay, my creep showed up, but where are his creeps? Don't just
Yeah.
say, I don't see pulls a lot in my bracket, so I don't. It's hard for me to identify a pull. Pulls, it doesn't matter how often you see them, they should be very, very intuitive to your Dota knowledge because you know that every 30 seconds, no matter what, a Dire and a Radiant creep camp or creep wave spawns
Yeah.
for each lane, top, mid, and bot. That's just like that happens in Dota 2 when you play the game. So
Okay.
yeah, so
Yeah.
like right like I saw your creeps approaching, and then I saw Ursa's creeps dwindling, and I didn't see an accompanying wave. I don't even need to look in the free cam to know that Shaman is pulling the creep wave right now. But sure enough, I'm gonna unpause in 3, 2, 1 at 2:08. The Shaman pulled
Mhm.
his easy camp. It was a really shitty pull, right? His none of his creeps died. So, or no, wait, sorry. I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna hit the button twice, so I'm at 2:02. Yeah, it's a really, really
Okay.
shitty pull. He has his camp. I'm at 210, 211, 212, 213.
Okay.
His he got a creep wave spawn or a creep camp spawn that was like really crappy, and it didn't really kill his wave. So all this ended up doing was double waving you. But the principle is still the same. If the shaman was a good
Yeah.
player and he had stacked the camp appropriately, then he wouldn't be double waving you like he is now. All in all, I'd say this pull in general probably benefited you more than it hurt you. I don't even. It's hard to even say that it hurt you.
Mhm.
But
But
the
I
other
should have identified it and been there to contest it.
yeah, either been there
Yeah.
to contest it, or more importantly, what you can do, because like I said earlier about polling can kill the enemy safe laner. You
Yeah.
should
Gone
just
for the SR.
when you don't see creeps for the Ursa, just go fucking like go beat his ass, right? He has to deal with
Yeah.
he has to deal with your creeps when he doesn't have any creeps of his own, and then he also has to deal with your spiders. Ursa just in general has like no answers for spiders, right? Like what can Ursa do? He could just like touch the ground a little bit, like Donkey Kong, like he's gonna fucking slam the ground for a second, like and that's it. Like Ursa's nuke is really weak. It's Earthshock, like 90 damage at level 1. That's not gonna do shit to spiders. It doesn't even kill spiderites. Okay, so, anyways,
Yeah.
I'm we're gonna ignore the pull thing because I think we talked about that enough. I think it's kind of minor anyways because it didn't
At
really.
two.
I'm at 405, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
405.
Yep. 4,
Alright. Okay.
415, 16, 17, 18. I never paused. I just used the fast forward buttons and stuff like that. So far, we're doing all right in lane.
Okay. Where are you at now? Are you pausing? Or
I'll pause. I'm at 431.
431. Okay. I am 1 second away, and at 431 right now.
Nice.
Restart in 3, 2, 1.
Okay, I am buzzed. So I see that you did the 2 points in the spider eye. Okay, wait. Okay, all right. We're gonna get off track on time here because I gotta pause and like I gotta watch this play a little bit.
Yeah, sure. I'll go back 20 seconds to watch it as well.
Firstly, I want to see if they ever made it obvious that they warded this lane for you.
Okay.
Looks like they have a ward, a very, very oddly placed ward, but they have a ward. This is the Radiant ward. I could not fathom why they placed this ward. But they had this sentry here. Who placed this sentry? Was it Ursa? Did you not check his inventory?
I don't think it was this. I think no, because I think Shaman walked in when I was like pushed back. Let me find it. Okay.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, I was pushed back and I had no vision of him.
Yes, and that's fine, by the way. Like this, sometimes this shit happens. Now I want to see how this lane transpires. You're listening
so-
on the tower.
Yeah, because he was missing. I couldn't check his inventory. Was I meant to like sort of predict that something like that would happen?
No, no, no. Sometimes,
No?
like I said, sometimes this kind of shit happens. I would not blame you for not knowing about this information. What I am gonna blame you for in a second. Okay.
Not testing it
Nope.
with the aggro.
Yeah, actually, yes. And you did kind of test it, but you just didn't recognize it. So that was not being able to recognize that was a big mistake on your part.
I probably wasn't thinking about it consciously. That's why. My bad.
That's fine. Don't worry too much about that. That wasn't. This is gonna sound really, really weird, but this is where like being an 8K Broodmother player and a 4K Broodmother player shines. Okay. 8K Broodmother player gets his soul ring and uses that shit off cooldown every chance he gets to spam spiders out, okay? You are not doing that. You have 135 mana in the bank, you put another web down, you are not using, you bought the soul ring, but you have not created spiders, so you have no spiders up, right? 0 spiders. And then when the shaman goes on you, this is big. This is huge. You have no offense. Broodmother's defense is, well, she just has a lot of defensive capabilities, but one of her greatest defenses is the fact that she has insane offense in the laning phase. She is absurd to lane against. 3 heroes go on Broodmother, right? 2 of them are squishy, no armor supports like Oracle and Skywrath Mage. One of them is like a Chaos Knight, right? The Brood dies because that's a fuck ton of like stuns and slows. But the Skywrath Mage and the Oracle die as well because they're no armor supports and they have to stay in lane to like cast their spells and shit like that. This shaman should have died, and this Ursa debatably should have died as well, because if you had used your soul ring appropriately, the second you got it, you would have been able to cast 3 uses of spawn spiderlings. 1 with the soul ring, 2 because you had 120 mana right when you got it, and then 3 just because the cooldown would have been up again and you would have been able to spawn spiders again. You got the soul ring at like 3:30, and it's been a full minute and you haven't even used it once to create spiders. I mean, it's kind of weird, but like the biggest mistake I see is that you're just not using your items and your spells the way that they are meant to be used. Again, Brood,
Okay.
weird hero, right? Most other heroes, you save your mana for kill opportunities or harassment. Brood, you gotta constantly be spawning spiders. Like that's what you do. You spawn spiders as Broodmother. Broodmother goes in a lane, she spawns spiders. You're not spawning spiders. You're doing Broodmother wrong because you're not spawning spiders. Simple as that. The sentry thing, it's a big mistake for sure. And I mean, what's really ironic though is that like you technically did test for it, you just weren't consciously thinking about like, oh, his creeps are hitting me, even though I right-clicked him. That's a big mistake for sure. But like again, this is huge. Is that you don't have spiders right now to kill the shaman. Even if you make the biggest blunders in the world as Broodmother, you can still sometimes just come back because you're Broodmother and you have like 50 spiders and you can just kill the support. So that's huge, in my opinion. And that's one of the big reasons why you died here without getting anything out of it. And probably why you lost this lane, because you couldn't kill the shaman as well and get some comeback gold.
Yeah. I think I improved from this afterwards, whether or not it's because I realized my mistake or maybe I made the mistake subconsciously before, but yeah, I should have definitely been doing that sort of stuff like all the time instead of just afterwards.
That's actually what I'm also curious about. So after you die here with literally no spiders up, I mean, it's nice that you didn't feed spiders, I guess, as a result of that, but like, I wonder when you TP back in a lane, so I'm at 5. Also,
I killed Shaman around 7 minutes with spiders.
It's like a spoiler alert, but okay. Here, I'm at 5 minutes and 5 seconds.
I don't think many people would want to watch this anyway.
No, you're good. Are you gonna sync up with me here? I'm at 5 minutes and 5 seconds.
All right, 5 minutes and 5 seconds. I don't think anything happens that much, but maybe maybe I make a mistake that I'm not aware of.
We'll just watch.
All right. Sorry, I got a long way to go. I was at like 8.
No, you're good.
Okay.
You can
Going forward. 5:05. All right. 3, 2, 1. Okay, so I'm TPing in.
Also, another thing. I mean, okay, there you go. Never mind.
I started doing this thing. I started doing it a little bit in this game, but I select my spiderlings and I make them hit a creep right before I last hit it, and then that way I guarantee that spiderites spawn.
Told me this.
And so
I'm pausing in 3, 2, 1. Pause. You
1.
told me this last coaching session, and I think I told you then. That is a bad use of your micro right now, in my opinion. As insulting as that sounds, take it for my word. Take it for my name here, okay? If you have a certain amount of resources that you're able to devote to something, as if to say you have a finite amount of resources to devote to any one thing, you want to focus on the critical things first and the accessory things afterwards. It sounds to me like that, at least in my opinion, is a very, very accessory, like minor thing. Getting spiders is important. Like spiderites are important in the early game. That is a truthful statement. But going as far, I mean, I don't even do that, right? I do try to make sure that like I'm last hitting with spiders, and usually because I'm using I just ball up all my spiders, and one of them is bound to be a spiderling. That spiderling is bound to hit it with my entire spider army. So you usually just do that anyways by happenstance of making sure that you have a hotkey for all your spiders. But going as far as to literally pick out one spiderling and make sure you like that seems very unnecessary. And
that's not what I meant. What I mean is I have like a hotkey for all other units. So basically everything except Broodmother. So all spiderites, all spiderlings, and because I normally, like, especially in this situation when there's 2 heroes and I know there's a Shadow Shaman there, or like maybe I can sense it, but like if I go and like hit it not within last hit range, they will like come and get me. So normally it's like just within last hit range, I hit it with a bit with spiders, and then straight after I last hit it, and then just run straight out, because otherwise my Broodmother normally attacks quicker, I think.
Yeah.
And because I'm only hitting it in last hit range, the spiders don't even have a chance to hit it because it's dead. by then. So
Yeah. Okay.
so I'm not like taking one out or anything. Is that
Okay.
still like something I shouldn't be doing or?
No, that's fine. In that case, that's fine. I liken this a lot to Lone Druid. You know Lone Druid,
Mhm. Yeah.
how his bear like attacks a little bit slower than his hero or whatever. So
Hmm.
what Lone Druid players do is they like try to keep their bear like they wait to auto attack until their bear is like, or no, it's, I think it has something to do with the Lone Druid's projectile speed is like kind of slow. So they get their
Hmm.
hero close-ish to the unit that they want to last hit, so the projectile speed has less time to travel before it hits its target. So then when they
Hmm.
auto attack, the bear swipes at the same time as the projectile lands, and then you kind of like make sure you get the last hit, and
Yeah.
the two things aren't fumbled together, so that a stray creep last hit can come in and snag the last hit before the Lone Druid gets the chance to get it with his
Yeah.
auto attack. That's
That,
kind
that
of
makes a lot of sense because I think I tried to play once or twice and that exact same thing was happening to me and I didn't know how to time it.
yeah,
But yeah,
exactly.
I understand.
It's kind
Yeah.
of like, yeah, it's kind of like what you're doing on Broodmother. That in that case, that's fine. And that's
Hmm.
probably that's fine. I do that. I that's not an unnecessary thing to devote your micro to. And I would say that if you're doing that, I wouldn't be too appalled. Um, one other thing though, if you can manage to do it, it's important. Um, Soul Ring, I don't know if you knew this. When you use Soul Ring, it actually extends your maximum mana pool to make sure that you always get the benefit of the Soul Ring. Does that make sense? So
Yeah.
you have 361 max mana right now. If you had 361 mana out of 361 mana, like you were full mana,
Yeah.
and you use Soul Ring, it'll give you 511 mana. Sorry, yeah, 511 mana temporarily. Does that make
Hmm.
sense? So,
Yeah. It does.
yeah. So when you spawned back in, you were dead, right? You
Hmm.
died around the 5 minute mark or something like that. You spawn back in. When you spawn back in, you get some fountain regen like left over. What you should do with that fountain regen is cast Soul Ring, right? So that you can regain the health that you lose from Soul Ring. Walk up
And
and
get the extra mana.
yeah, exactly. Get a free spell.
Hmm.
You should do that for hopefully reasons that are obvious. But one other thing that I noticed is that even without doing that, you walked into your lane, and you cast spawn spiders. You didn't even use your soul ring when you're not using your soul ring, so you're gonna run out of mana really quickly. You want
Hmm.
soul ring is a weird item. It doesn't let you keep the mana that you get from it, so you can't just like
Yeah.
use it. You can't just spam it constantly. You only ever want to use it when you can cast a spell and get the value out of it. But with
Hmm.
that being said, you always want to be kind of using it, right? Because you want to put it on a
Yeah.
cooldown. You want to get the mana so you can use the mana to get spiders, and then you want to put it on cooldown as quickly as possible so you can get the mana again later, quickly as possible. So when you buy a soul ring and you're thinking in your mind, okay, like, I only want to use this when I'm out of mana, so, I don't lose too much HP. Who cares about that? You're Broodmother, you're going to gain the HP back. Make sure you're using soul ring and making as many spiders as possible because those pay off later on. Like I said, you're Broodmother, you go in the lane, you make spiders. You're not doing that. I don't think you've used soul ring like once this game, which is very concerning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was under the misconception that uh, if I there's no point using Soul Ring when I'm full health. I thought that I'd only use it when I don't have enough mana to use spiders anyway.
Yeah,
Because
no, that
I don't know
that's
if this is relevant, but like, sorry, I just wanted to quickly finish this point. If I use say Soul Ring and I use like spawn spiders, the percentage when it goes back, is it percentage based or does it take 150 mana off from your max buffer
yeah, no,
and whatever's left of that 150 that it gave you,
yeah,
or
no,
is it like percentage based?
no, it's not. So it'll always, if you use Soul Ring and you're at full mana and you use 120 mana, or you use the whole
Hmm.
150, all it'll do is take away the extra 150 it gave you on the top. It won't like start taking away some of your actual permanent mana.
Okay.
That's also somewhat irrelevant of a point to bring up anyways, because I see that
Yeah.
you're not
Okay.
even really using Soul Ring at all. Like you're not
Okay.
even using
Yeah.
Soul Ring. Yeah. So I
Yeah.
mean, so you can't really cling to that as an excuse because as it turns out,
Hmm.
I think you're just not using it, which is important to recognize
Yeah.
because if you're not using it, you're not gonna like continue using it unless somebody points it out. But I see what
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
saying. Yeah.
That's yeah. It's yeah. It was definitely It was just yeah. I never really thought of it that way. Inexperienced, not really thinking about it. Like, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
still kind of new to the game, I guess, relatively. But yeah, I just thought that I only use Soul Ring when I don't have enough mana anyway, and
Yeah.
so clearly that's not efficient. I lose mana then pretty quickly if I use fighters without using Soul Ring first.
Yeah, and again, like for some other heroes, that probably does make sense. I'm not going to say that that's 100% the way to use Soul Ring because at least on Broodmother it is, but maybe on some other heroes like Storm Spirit, you don't want to get your health too low because then maybe you'll die. But
Hmm.
specifically on Broodmother and kind of Tinker as well, I've played some Tinker, and Tinker really doesn't care about the health too much because he's usually too far away from heroes to care about it. But sometimes he does. But yeah, on Broodmother specifically, don't like don't think like, oh, I'm using Soul Ring, so you know if they go on me right now, they might kill me. If you're in the middle of a dicey fight and you don't have enough mana to cast Spawn Spiders, but it's not going to do anything anyways, then maybe just don't use Soul Ring, because it's not going to change a fight anyways. If you're just running away for your dear life, don't cast Soul Ring for that. If you're running away from your dear life and you don't have mana to cast Spin Web, and you need to use a Spin Web, but you're kind of afraid of losing the HP, then you can be like, Wired, I found a one-off situation that's very, that's like, I don't know whether or not to use Soul Ring, and then you can send me that replay and we'll talk about it. But in this case, this is just a general thing that I see you're not doing. You're just not using Soul Ring and casting Spawn Spiders. Spawn Spiders, like I said, Spawn Spiders in and of themselves are an investment. You spawn them now so that they can make you gold later. They can give you damage against supports later. Just spam Soul Ring, spam Spawn Spiders. Always, it's good. It's never bad. Just do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, in this lane specifically. Obviously, there's like other matchups that you don't want to do that. So anyways, I'm going to continue in 3, 2, 1. I'm at 540.
You're at 545, 46, 47, 48,
Yep.
right?
Alright. Also, I was going to mention this earlier. This is why I think that you're probably going Orchid a lot in your games, is because you're buying Soul Ring, but you literally are just never using it. Like I just saw you cast Spawn Spiders again, and I think you saw yourself do it too.
Yeah.
But you didn't use Soul Ring. So I think the reason you're relying on Orchid a lot is because you're not actually using the items that you're buying. I don't know. I think I'm off. I don't. Am I? Maybe the build updater isn't really accurate, but it says that you have a Ring of Health in your quick buy. Is that
Ring of Regen.
Yeah. Is there a reason?
Yeah, sorry, that's because I queued up a Blightstone and an Orb of Venom, but I think I misclicked one of them and hit Ring of Regen instead when I was at the side shop.
You don't actually plan on buying that, do you?
No, I take it off later.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean that would have been the I can see exactly what you're gonna say.
Yeah,
the web region and everything.
Yeah, I was gonna say you don't actually like ever buy that in your game, right?
Yeah, no, I don't.
I'm just making sure.
You can check until the end. I'll never have that in my inventory.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure I realized later. I just can't be stuffed. Yeah.
No, you're good. You're good. So I think you might have thought something like, oh, he's probably gonna say something about that sentry, but I'm not actually gonna say anything about that sentry, because I mean, I personally wouldn't have placed that, but I don't think I mind you doing that. That's not bad enough to criticize. It's it probably makes you feel safe, and in some ways it probably does make you safe. So.
I was just what was your reasoning behind why that might not be a good idea?
Just because it doesn't. I mean, you can kind of confirm that there's no sentry there. I usually like to confirm that there's sentries whether or not, or when I place them. There's some value in knowing that there's not a sentry there, and what I mean by this is like if you place a sentry there and you don't find a sentry, then you know that there's not a sentry there, right? So you know that you know that there's no vision there. Like I said, there's other ways to find that kind of information out without doing this, but doing this in some ways can be it can make you feel safe, and like this is something I do disagree with though, is you just bought 2 more sentries. So one reason you wouldn't need to feel like you're doing this is like A, if you just didn't use your sentries like that, and B, like if you just, I guess, didn't care too much. Like I don't even, are they buying more sentries? It feels like you're buying more sentries than their support. I guess he has 1 sentry in his inventory. But
yeah, that's a mistake I definitely do. I always buy like them in like groups of 3 or 4, so I don't have to get anything again. I think this is why, because I was starting to push and I wanted to have a few in case I need to go close to the tower.
Okay.
That might have been why.
I'll say this. I think maybe you overvalue them in the off lane. I do this a lot when I'm mid, because in mid it's more important to battle for vision like that. In the off lane, I don't ever feel like I need to battle for vision too much, just because the lane is so wide that I can usually play around it if they do happen to have some vision. If that makes sense. Just because look at how much room you have to move around. Like you could literally, like if they had 3 sentries in this lane, you could literally still find a nook and cranny to sit in, and not have to like worry about them having vision. A small thing, if you are going to go Orchid, it's important to note you can just get 2 Sage's Nests from the side shop, which does speed up your mana regen pretty significantly. It's by like.
I think what happened here is, or maybe it was another game, but I walked up to the side shop, missed, and then only realized that I wasn't in range afterwards. Or that might have been another game. But yeah.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I was going to say here you're going to kill their shaman, which is good. You used your ward to, I assume, to see that he was there and that he was prepping to pull, so that was good. I think you're going to kill Ursa here. Maybe not. because he doesn't. I think you can.
I think he hangs around too long though. He chases this man. And I
Yep,
think I get a.
I was gonna say,
Then
yeah, Shaman's gonna TP back in, but you do have, yeah, so if you just cast your Q there, he might have died with Spider sitting. I'm not gonna go back and like look at his exact HP, because just in general, like I do think that was one of those plays that
yeah, I didn't expect the stun, and so I tried to wait until he was below HP, so he wouldn't walk away, like on 5 HP or 10 HP. But yeah, I probably should have expected that and then used it earlier. There's a chance that a kill is better than no kill, I guess.
I was gonna say, once he like got back to his tower, I would have started feeling a little bit afraid and probably backed off. That was probably the big thing, was if you can't guarantee the kill after like 2 or 3 seconds of chasing, it's probably just not wise to keep chasing, because it can get kind of scary when the shaman's back up and he TP's into lane. You know, it can be suicidal. Your sentry placement, as I said before, your sentry placement seems kind of poor. You just place sentries out in the middle of the open.
Yeah, in the middle.
You don't even try to like. I mean, you could at least make somewhat of an effort to hide them behind trees or something. Just every little bit of like protection, so to speak, matters.
I'll be working on that now. Yeah, I noticed that in my last game as well.
Yeah. You're not really accomplishing a whole lot in this thing. I said this at the start of this. There's like never a time when I'm afraid of an Ursa as Brute. Like literally never a time. Maybe when he gets Blink Dagger, maybe. But like up until that point, like you can just run spiders at him. He can't do anything against it. You don't need to cut the wave. You don't need to farm jungle creeps. Just like literally go up there, and you should have Medallion right now too, because Medallion helps you do these kinds of things. Rushing Orchid doesn't help. Rushing Orchid doesn't help until you complete Orchid. Same thing with Medallion, actually, kind of. Medallion, I mean, you get the -2 armor from Blightstone, which is pretty good, but like until you complete Medallion, you can't really like. Really, just until you complete items, you can't really do too much. Your power spike comes with the actual item itself. Again, that's somewhat not true with the -2 armor from Blightstone, but like -7 armor is so much more than -2. But luckily, right, compared to Orchid, Medallion is so much cheaper. So that's why I'm telling you, like, fuck Orchid, just go an item that you can get within the first 10 minutes of the game. Right, whereas you can get, I mean, Medallion I've gotten as quickly as like the 5-minute mark, sometimes even quicker if you're owning. And like with Medallion here, you would have killed this guy. You might still kill him. Okay, you're not gonna. 100%. He dies 100% if you have Medallion, by the way. Just like yeah. No.
Can I say one thing here?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Like, I don't want to make this sound like an excuse, because I realize that's what I've been doing, and it's that habit I have of like trying to make an excuse, and it's always being a bit pointless. But I was scared of the shaman in the sense that if I even went in with a Medallion, I'd be stunned, and Ursa would turn around and he'd just Fury Swipe me to death. So that's why I thought that rushing Orchid first, that would mean I could disable him, like not disable him, silence him, and then either go on the Ursa or finish him off so that he's out, and then go on the Ursa.
I'm gonna pause in 3, 2, 1. Pause the game. Okay. So it appears to me as you don't actually know Medallion's cast range, and this is fair because not a lot of people know this. Medallion is a stupidly broken item. Same with Solar Crest, in that it has 1,000 cast range. 1,000. Right, that is
holy shit.
That is, you probably didn't even know that up until this point. 1,000
yeah, that's huge.
1,000 cast range is longer than like Vlad's aura or Radiant's burn radius by like 300 more units. You can cast Medallion twice as long as Shaman, almost twice as long as Shaman can like shackle somebody. Shaman shackle range is like 500 range. Medallion has 1,000 range. So if you medallion him from max range away while you have your spiders on him, he has to run like literally like an entire shackle's range up to you just to start the shackle. That's at max range. So casting, like again, if it takes a little bit more micro. I'm not going to deny you that. It does take more skill, but if you can accommodate to that skill, like if you can rise to that challenge, and if you're up to the task, I guess. This sounds really like dick throbby and cocky. I'm not trying to sound cocky. I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's really fun.
If you can do the micro, it is like so insanely strong against specifically these heroes. Ursa has fairly good base armor, and Shaman has very little base armor, right? Taking Ursa's armor down to 0 suddenly makes him care more about spiders. Shaman gets like one shot by Medallion. So Medallion is very good against both these heroes. I mean, it's good against like almost every hero in the game. Like as Broodmother, right? You hit very hard with physicals. You have units that hit very hard with physicals. You just want to get their armor down to 0 so you can just one-shot them. and that's what Medallion does here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it does it from a very safe position, which is contrary to the popular belief.
Yeah. So what I took from that is basically in that situation, I don't. Maybe this is the way I see things, but like this is what I took from that is that basically in that situation where I was scared of the Ursa's damage and Shaman's disable, I should have harassed them out by casting Medallion and then setting my spiders onto them, and while staying safe myself, and then maybe
Yes.
going in for a kill with spawn spiderlings, which his range is like, it's a range. Doesn't show. Do you know what the range of spawn
Yeah, it's like
spiderlings?
700. It's like 700 or 800,
Yeah,
if I recall correctly. It's
yeah. I
like
was thinking it was like 750 or something. Yeah.
you definitely can cast it before he can shackle you. But you know what's crazy is you had enough spiders there. You had like 10, I think, spiders in total. Like some of them were spiderlings, but some of them were spider ants. You had enough spiders there that you didn't even need to use spawn spiderlings. You'd be very surprised. A shaman at he's level 5, I think now. Oh, he's level 8. Sorry, rip. I lose track of time in game. He's level 8. I think he got
Yep.
level 8 after that kill. He was probably level 7. A level 7 shadow shaman, right? Has like, let's check his armor actually. Just he has 3 armor,
It
right?
says 3.9. So
You would have taken his armor
yeah.
down to like -2 or -3, right? And that's the
Yeah.
important thing is he would have literally 0 armor. And keep in mind, Shaman is a range hero. He doesn't typically buy stout shield like this Ursa has a Portman shield. Like
Yeah.
maybe just go into a custom game and just see like get 10 spiders, get like 5 spiderlings and 5 spiderites, and just put them on a shadow shaman with like, you know, I don't know, level 7 or level 6 or level 5 or whatever, just toy around with that, and then just like cast Medallion
Yeah.
and
They'll
look.
melt him in like 4 hits
Yeah, it's
each.
the difference is literally night and day, and it's something that the more you play around with, the more you'll realize like, wow, dude, like I can actually just destroy heroes if I just get Medallion first, as opposed to like going this seemingly greedy build, but it's actually like really inefficient of trying to
Yeah.
rush your first big item. I do this sometimes when I'm going Radiance first against heroes like Timbersaw, where there's no chance that I ever kill them with Medallion even, so I just don't even bother, and I just buy a Radiance straight off, because I never
Mhm.
have a chance to kill him anyways, so why even bother with an item that helps you kill people? But Medallion still kind of helps you farm a little bit, and so that's one of the reasons why it's never really a terrible item in Broodmother's inventory. Like, it always helps you do something, and that's important.
Mhm.
So that's why I do
Okay.
recommend, if you take one big thing away from this session, it is just buy a lot of Medallion. Like, genuinely speaking, that's probably
Yeah.
never...
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so
I will know that I know that.
I'm gonna keep going in 3, 2, 1, unpause. Okay.
So also, what are like, I don't know. I like to simplify things a lot. Maybe it's not this simple, but what are like sort of the conditions necessary to push a tower? Do you have to like get rid of all the enemy heroes first of all?
Um,
Yeah.
depends
I
on.
would have killed him if I had Medallion here
Uh,
before he even could stun me.
yeah, and that's also a situation where you should just cast spawn spiders from a distance too, just to make the quick killer quicker. But you got the kill no matter what, so it's not a bad thing. As far as pushing a tower goes, yeah, I usually like to clear out most of the heroes. If you're playing against a hero like Timbersaw, or I'm gonna pause actually. 3, 2, 1. Let me pause and think about this.
Mhm.
So you're a pretty smart guy. I bet, and you've played a lot of Dota, I can tell. You probably know like every hero and kind of what their abilities are. So you probably know that, even if you don't play a whole lot of Sven, you probably know that Sven has a long-ranged AoE stun, right? Um,
Yeah.
the gauntlet thing that he throws at like the
Mhm.
Stormhammer, like
Stormhammer. Yeah.
yeah, it's like an AoE stun, right? That does some damage. Um,
Yeah.
you probably know that like Axe has a call, like an AoE call thing, but it's kind of short range.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not that new. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not trying to be condescending.
Yeah.
I'm presenting this as a like more of like a philosophical question. So like what you have
Mhm.
to do when you're pushing a tower is just ask yourself, is the person that is alive that I'm pushing a tower against A, killable? Like literally as simple as that. Can I kill this person? If the answer is
Mhm.
no, then you have to ask yourself the next question, which is B, why would they stop, or what abilities do they have that would stop me from pushing this tower? If it's something like Stormhammer, then that's kind of scary because it's a long ranged, pretty quick, like it travels like genuinely, like it's just a quick projectile, so it's kind of
Yeah.
hard to dodge and outmaneuver. AoE stun that like puts you under it does a fair amount of damage, so you can kill your spiders with it, and or if you get caught under a tower, which is scary. Um,
Mhm.
if it's something like Axe Call, which is a somewhat long cast time melee, almost like essentially melee, AoE taunt then
Mm.
maybe, right? Because you can kind of like, you're much quicker than him, so you can outmaneuver him. So you can push tower with your spiders. Then when he comes up to call you, you just run them away, and then he has to choose between staying and last hitting your creeps under his tower or going for your spiders. Does that make sense? Because you're going to have a creep wave pushing it. When you're pushing a tower, you have a creep wave with you. Does that make sense? So you put your spiders on the
Mhm.
left side of the tower in this case. You notice how you're dire, right? So you skip past the wave, you kill his creep wave, and then you put spiders on his left side of his tower while he's trying to CS creeps on the right side, and then you choke him. Does that make sense? Like
Yeah.
you make him come back and try to call your spiders, and then he wastes mana. Ideally, he wastes mana. You, more importantly, are wasting his time, and then you go back and you just farm the jungle and stuff like that. That's kind of how you push towers. Timbersaw, also another hero that I love pushing towers against, because all of his spells are melee, except for Chakram, which he gets at level 6, so he doesn't have that ability to start with. Also, it has a slow windup and a slow travel time, so you can dodge it. And Timber Chain, which admittedly, when he maxes it first, it like makes him move really quickly, so it's kind of hard to like dodge if you can't see it coming. But if you see it coming, it has a fairly long cast animation, so you can see him when he winds up the animation and kind of dodge as a result of that. And then his other ability, which is like the melee, what's it called, Whirling Death, that's just like melee, so you can just stay away from him from that. Um,
Hmm.
yes, so and
So yeah.
obviously,
So
yeah,
basically.
yeah. So I guess we'll specifically talk about this matchup of Ursa Shadow Shaman, but I'm trying to tell you something philosophically, so it extends to all games, because I don't have just one general rule when I'm pushing a tower against somebody. I have like that kind of like those. I pose myself those questions. I'm like, can I push this tower, or can I kill the person that I'm pushing the tower against? If I can't,
Mhm.
well, do I even care about them at all, right? If there's nobody there,
Yeah.
then obviously, yeah, I just push, like, you'll always just push a tower against nobody, obviously. But if somebody's
Yeah.
there, can you kill them? And if you literally can't kill them at all, like if it's an axe or a timber saw, and they're under tower and you have spiders, then do you care about them, you know? And in that case, you don't. Against Ursa Shadow Shaman, I'd say you can kill them, especially with Medallion, so you don't even need to really ask yourself whether or not you can push it against these heroes. I would say, ironically, this is a yes-no scenario where, yes, you can kill them, but if you can't kill them, which you should be able to, but again, like if hypothetically speaking they had another hero there that was protecting them, then I would
Mhm.
say you would not be able to push this tower, because Shaman has enough nukes. Like he has enough, not enough nukes, but he has one AOE nuke that kind of like really hits your spiders hard if he levels it, which they usually do. I bet he didn't though, because he's no, he did good. Um,
Yeah.
Ether
He
Shock
did.
is Ether Shock is like scary enough against spiders. It hits enough of them and it one shots them all. And well, not it doesn't one shot the spiderlings, but it hits enough of them and farm spiderites pretty well that it's gonna like de-push your push, like it's gonna nuke your spiders unless you have like a fuck ton of them, but you don't have a fuck ton of them. You just have a lot, so
Yeah.
yeah.
So I'm trying to take a note of this. Basically, is there someone there? If yes, push. If no, can I kill them or force them out? Because also, I actually learned this from Purge that sometimes forcing them out of lane is better than killing them. Because if they kill, they'll just buy a TP and respawn. Whereas if you force them out, they forced to walk all the way back, then sit there and regen, and then come back. And in that time, you haven't like wasted all of your resources or anything, and like you can push and stuff.
Yeah.
So if I can kill them or force them out, good push. If I can't, like, how should I pose the next question? Is it like, will I survive their abilities if I push or something, or
Can you
will
outmaneuver
I?
them? Can you outmaneuver? Basically, can you outplay them? That's the biggest thing. Um, again,
It's
so
kind of hard to like
yeah.
outplay, say, like a shadow shaman who's like right under tower with someone else.
Okay, so like I was saying with Shadow Shaman, he's one of those people that you cannot outplay. So in Shadow Shaman,
Yeah.
or in this specific case, you should be able to kill them. Without Medallion, you cannot. That's just a mistake you made in your build choice,
Yeah.
which you cannot salvage with this scenario. So I would say in this
Mhm.
scenario, if the enemies leave the lane, you're fine to push. If they're in the lane and you get enough spiders, maybe you can kill them just because Shaman still melts to spiders. But Ursa with a PMS and like 6 armor, it's kind of hard to kill him without Medallion. So Ursa
Yeah.
probably can't kill him. If Ursa is protecting the Shaman, then what Ursa is going to do is he's going to use his Q. When your spiders are on the Shaman, they're going to disjoint your spiders. They're going to make him go slow. And then you're not going to get the kill. So if Ursa and Shaman are both here, you probably can't kill him. And therefore you
Mhm.
can't push the tower. If Shaman's here, you can probably push the tower, or you can probably kill him, or both, because
Yeah.
he can't spam his nuke hard enough against your spiders. Um, and then if none of
So
them are
in
here,
in in that case, what I like, I don't know. This is just what I'm planning. Tell me if I'm wrong. I get webs all around their tower and force them to be then force like so. Either shaman goes out for a pull or something. I see that, I kill him, and then Ursa's by himself, and I can try and either kill him or push and like outplay him, or they play safe and they just stay under the tower, and I can't do anything. But I like creep cut. I farm both the jungle camps there, and generally ensure they get barely anything except for the creep wave that will be coming into the tower. Right? Would that
That's
be the right thing to do?
Your question is yes to both, if you could believe it. And that's the beauty of Brood, is that you can do all of those things at once. So you can keep a spider outside of the tower and see and like monitor when they leave, right? Again, it takes a little bit of diligent micro, but you can just keep taps on the enemy. If you see the Ursa showing up in lane, you'll know that he's still there. And if you haven't seen Shaman in a while, you can just like sacrifice one spiderling to send it back there. I mean, because you can place the web on the tower for free. The webs don't have
Yeah.
HP; they can't be focused. So you can keep a web on the tower, and you can just send a spider back there. If you see that the Shaman is waiting for you, then you know he's still there and he's wasting his time and he's not doing anything except for leeching XP from his Ursa,
Which is good because I'm wasting their resources.
Exactly, exactly. That's good.
Yeah.
If he's not there, then you can just go kill the Ursa or threaten the tower. If he is there, though, like I said, you're wasting his time. And yeah, sure, you can't kill him or threaten the tower, but you're fine with that because they're spending 2 heroes bot. You can still farm their lane, and then more importantly, you can outfarm the Ursa by farming the jungle. And this is where not overcommitting lane webs is also important. A lot of people ask me, and you'll probably at some point or another ask me this question, so I'll just answer it right now. Like, do I need to have webs all spread out through the through the lane? You only need one web in the lane, and then you need to learn the lane timings. So notice it's 17:20, right? See that 20-minute mark? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're at the same timer. Notice where the creeps are right now at 17:20.
Yeah.
If you use your creeps as a benchmark, this job becomes a lot easier. But basically, around the 20-minute mark, the enemy creeps will be approaching their tower. They're not going to be at their tower, but they're going to be approaching it. If you just make sure that around the 20 to 40-minute mark, because remember, every 30 seconds creep spawns, so it takes about...
Do you mean 20 to 40 seconds or 20 to 40 minutes?
Yeah, 20 to 40 seconds, sorry. So
Okay.
at 1 minute 20 seconds and at 1 minute 40 seconds. 2 minute 20 seconds, 2 minute 40 seconds.
Yeah, yeah.
Every 20 seconds, fuck, that doesn't make any sense though. Like, yeah, I guess every 20 seconds based off the minute mark, creeps will be right outside their tower. If you have one web right there, you can reliably always go back and take the wave. So that means you only ever need to have this one web right outside their tower, where it is right now, and then you just meet the wave there every 20 seconds. Then from there, because you only
I just wanted to quickly say, wouldn't it be 20 seconds and then 50 seconds? Because 20 seconds from the minute mark, then 20 seconds from the 30-second mark?
Yeah, so it'd be 20 seconds and then 40
And
seconds.
50.
Not 40 seconds, not 50. Why would it be 50?
Because the creep spawn into the barracks at
Yeah,
30
okay,
seconds, yeah?
Okay, yeah, sorry, I don't, yeah, I don't know what I was thinking, sorry.
Never mind, yeah.
No, you're right, yeah, sorry,
All right.
okay.
Sorry, could you just give me a second? I gotta talk to someone. I'll be
You're
like,
good.
we're
Yeah, you're good.
sorry about that. I just sorted out an issue. My grandparents getting worried about my mum for not coming and stuff because I'm at my grandparents, which is the only place I really get peace and quiet because of all my siblings at home. But yeah, I'm back and we were talking about.
Where the lane meets in the...
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
20, 50 seconds and having just one web there so that I don't waste all my resources and I'm there in time to cut it if I need to cut it, right?
Exactly. And in the
All
meantime,
right.
right? In the meantime of cutting the wave, it's pretty intuitive what you're doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is
I'm sort of forcing them to stay under their tower.
no. You're farming the
Wait.
jungle. That's what you're doing.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
My brain's a little over the place. I'm trying
No,
to focus a bit now here.
you're good. I mean, you do that, right? Every once in a while, you just want to make sure that there's nobody behind that tower in case you're scared of that kind of thing. But for the most part, it's
Mm-hmm.
just like, okay, there's an Ursa farming my lane, right? I'm cutting his creep wave. I'm trying to threaten his tower. If he comes back if he comes back to match my aggression, then I can safely just walk over to his jungle and farm his jungle. If I see somebody TPN, then I can just do more of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's always
Yeah.
answers is what I'm really trying to get at. So you always have the option of farming of just out farming the enemy if you just go to the jungle. Sometimes that's not the correct move because you can accomplish more on the map by just killing people. So
Mm-hmm.
if you have the opportunity to kill somebody and you instead take the farm route, well, like why not just kill the person instead?
Yeah, it's ruining the point of the whole hero, yeah.
Exactly,
So, like,
exactly, exactly.
I don't know. I just want to make a really quick point here. It's not really a question or anything, but like I came into learning this hero, sort of everything in general, like thinking about efficiency, like when to go to jungle, when to not go to jungle, when to go to this. But like I've also realized that there are a lot of other small things, like using Soul Ring constantly when it's off cooldown, and I can use Spiderlings as well, and things like getting a medallion if I can solo kill a hero just using spiders and stuff. So yeah, I don't know. Thanks for that.
Oh yeah, no, not a problem, not a problem.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you want to continue with this?
Um, yeah, sure. But like, do you reckon based on if I had have done the things you said, not like getting killed that one or two times, checking like the ward, getting that ward, maybe getting maybe I think I wouldn't have got more than an extra one or two kills. Do you reckon that would have been enough to really help me snowball or be in a more better position for winning, or have you not seen enough of the game to know for sure?
Um, it kind of sounds to me like you're asking basically. I know that you don't want to like ask this question, but it sounds to me like you're asking like if I hadn't made those mistakes, would I win this game? Is that kind of
Uh,
in a way?
Sort of. It's yeah. It's basically like the overall point of this is so I don't lose this game in the future. I get
Yeah.
the experience that will help me win similar games like that. And so essentially, I see it. If I don't win every game, there must be something that's stopping me from winning that game, and so I
Yeah.
need to learn what that is so it doesn't happen again.
I would say that for sure, it would have increased your odds at winning the game. But unfortunately, I'd have to
Mhm.
say I haven't seen enough of this game to recognize whether or not
All right.
those mistakes in the early game were enough. Or I guess really what I should say is I don't know if those mistakes were pivotal, in
Yeah.
causing your defeat. My guess is
Mhm.
no, they were not. My guess,
Yeah.
just again watching this replay, my guess is that um, the mistakes that we've seen are more so just foreshadowing for what is bigger to come, right?
Mhm.
I predict that there's like a big mistake that's going to happen, not just from you, but probably from your team, that's going to eventually cause
Yeah.
you guys to like, yeah. And that's
I mean,
typically,
yeah, I'm probably going to make that big mistake, but it sounds like it's some like horrible thing, like
well, I'm
like
just,
me defecting to the dark side or something. Yeah.
well,
Yeah. You were saying?
rest assured that like these kinds of things happen in all brackets, and like oftentimes, I mean, it kind of somewhat sounds disheartening, but like oftentimes you can play super well, like all the mistakes that you made in the early game. Like imagine if you play perfectly everywhere. Like
Hmm.
you didn't make any of those mistakes. Oftentimes you can do that and still lose the game.
Yeah.
It just goes to show that Dota is a sum of its parts, or is not a sum of its parts, but rather a unit as a whole, right? You can try to piece together this like perfect early game and have it transition into a guaranteed win, but at the end of the day, what ultimately matters is how you guys group and play as a team,
Mm.
because Dota is a team game. So again, like
Yeah.
snowballing super early game doesn't necessarily guarantee you an early win anyways. So I wouldn't go as far as to say something like, oh, if you hadn't made those mistakes, you would have been in a significantly better chance at winning the game. Like, sure, they would have helped, but again, I can't stress this enough. I totally like, I feel like something is gonna happen that's like gonna like blow everything else out. Like, I'm gonna see like, your Bloodseeker go Dagon 5 and feed 5 kills, and then I'll be like, okay, like, dude, honestly, this replay is not even worth watching because, like, even though you fucked up a bit in the early game, like, the Bloodseeker was the person that lost you this game,
Hmm.
and, yeah. But again,
Yeah.
I haven't seen enough to make that judgment
Hmm.
call.
Yeah, that's valid point. Um, I get that totally, but I don't know. I have this sort of like maybe it's a philosophy, maybe it's just a hypothetical point, but I believe that if you could that every single game, like if you say play, even if your team like is complete feeding, I believe that there's some way, if you maybe you don't know it, maybe it's even impossible to do, but there's always some way to win it, no matter what. Like maybe you're just waiting with your with your spider arm, and you'll be waiting like 5 whole minutes next to the trees while they're defending, and then at one point they'll go, and then if you know that exact time, you go there and you get a Rax or something, for example. But like, I know it's not realistically that it wouldn't happen. Like no matter how good you were, you'd still lose some eventually. But I don't know. It's just like a little philosophy thing that you should, if you had complete control, like over all your actions and made like all the right decisions, even if it's like maybe not possible because you don't know, you can't see what's happening on the high ground where you have no vision. But like, yeah,
So I do tend to agree with your philosophy most of the time, just because, and this is, by the way, just so you know that we're kind of talking about like nothing right now. We're not really talking about,
yeah,
I mean, this isn't going to help you, but like we're just talking about philosophy, so it's all good. I'm just letting you
sure,
know that. I'm just letting you know, like,
yeah,
take this with a grain of salt, because my word is just as good as yours here. But
hmm
I do hold the same philosophy for the most part. What I said about the Bloodseeker feeding could just be as much sorry, those words could hold just as much truth for yourself. So what I mean by this is that, like, even though I said that, like, specifically, something like the Bloodseeker going Dagon 5 and then feeding 5
hmm
kills, might end up losing the game. That just as much could, or just as well could happen to you here. And so what I'm trying to really say when I said those things that I did about your mistakes being not pivotal enough yet to lose you the game, what I really mean to say is something else is going to happen in this game, either to you or to your team or to the
hmm
enemy team, that is going to ultimately swing the game in such a way that most of these mistakes early game will matter, but to a much lesser degree when we look at
yeah,
things such as how they impact the game, how they impact the
hmm
gold, how they impact EXP, etc., so forth.
all right,
Again, so those what you said about your teammates, it's like, they could be playing terribly and you could always carry them there's always possible. I agree with that. Um,
hmm
my point wasn't necessarily that the Bloodseeker is going to actually do what I said. That was just an example. Just the same
yeah,
as,
yeah,
like,
I understand that. I
yeah.
just didn't really mean to put that point across if I did.
Oh no, you're good.
Yeah, I don't know.
It,
I was branching off a bit like into philosophy and stuff. I kind of tend to do that, so
no,
I'm sorry about that.
no, dude, I do that all the time, dude. And I want to reiterate the point. Like, I do agree with you, by the way. And you have
hmm
the right mentality to have here. If you can improve in any small way whatsoever, do it, because that's really all you can control. You are the only constant variable in your games. You can't control for the people on your team. The only person you can control is yourself. So those games that you lose, that you went 15-0 or 15-2, sucks. But that's life, dude. Like, sometimes you roll high, sometimes you roll low, sometimes you get shit teams, sometimes you get great teams. Hopefully you have enough impact on your games to control that, as little bit as you can. 60% win rate over 100 games is still 10 more games than you lose, or 20, I guess, technically. So
20, yeah.
yeah. So anyways, do you want to continue watching?
Yeah, sure. Go in 3, 2, 1.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm still at 1.5 times speed at 17, 28 right now, 29, 30. Got
Yep.
that, yeah?
I'm there too. I like how you just recognize, like, it seems like in the game itself you corrected your own mistake, which is kind of funny. Like you, sorry, sorry.
Are we pausing and going back, or
Nope, nothing to pause for yet. There
because
was,
I didn't understand the point you made. What were you saying?
I was just gonna say that, like, earlier you died because you saw that there was a ward there, but you didn't consciously recognize it, and so you died later on. We talked about that, but didn't you remember when we talked about that? When, like,
Yeah, yeah.
there was a ward there, but you weren't consciously aware of it. This time though, you knew that there was a ward there because the creeps were hitting you, and you de-warded it. So that was, I wanted to point that was good. And right there, you just got
All
a
right.
nice, ward stack. So good job.
Thanks.
I
I,
just,
I, I didn't actually notice it myself. I was probably watching something else, but yeah.
that was good though. Nonetheless.
I lost like half my spider arm in the trees there because I went out of pathing.
Yeah, so
Sucked a
that's,
bit.
I'm not even gonna
I
pause
think I
yet.
die here and I get so close to a kill. Yeah. Probably was my bad for going into a dangerous situation where I knew there were literally like probably 500 units away to back up.
I
Yeah.
hate, I hate to say it, but the real reason he didn't get that kill is because he didn't have medallion. But yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's definitely right.
Medallion not only would have gotten you that kill, but it would have gotten you that kill safely, because not only would you have gotten it quicker, which means that the enemy would have less time to respond, but it also would have allowed you to do it with just your spiders, and you wouldn't need to use your hero. You would have
Yeah.
only needed to use your hero for a nuke, which you can cast from a range. So
Yeah.
that's like, I mean, I see that mistake as one of those mistakes that, like, yeah, sure, we could sit here and chalk that up to, like, not knowing the strengths of your hero, but really that's just like not building to the strengths of your hero. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I don't know. Like I agree, and the way I see it is that like I wouldn't have made that mistake if I hadn't have gone there, but I also wouldn't have made that mistake if I had medallion. So
Yeah,
it goes
that's what I
both
was gonna.
ways for
So
me.
that's what I was gonna say is like you could talk about this from the angle of like I should have just known the strengths of my hero better and not gone. But I would go as far as to say it's kind of like if Alchemist, right, like died because he didn't have a Radiance, and the whole reason that he died was because he didn't build Radiance. Like there are certainly a few games out there that Alchemists don't go Radiance, and maybe I don't know Alchemist enough to actually make this judgment call, but just assume that Alchemist builds Radiance every game, and then an Alchemist doesn't build Radiance one game, and then he says, "Oh shit, I died there um, because I didn't know the strengths of my hero and I just overextended when I shouldn't have." Well, no, the reason you died there is because you didn't have Radiance, and like you know you should have built a Radiance, right? I guess that's kind of. Does that make sense? I don't know if I explained that well.
Yeah. Like I get what you're saying. I kind of I feel like I don't know. I'm kind of inclined to disagree, not because of
Well,
the reason, but I don't know. It's probably like the semantics of it, I guess. Yeah.
no, no.
So
Look at this Lena, right? You could have killed her as well
yeah,
if you had, but, like all of these kill.
had
Like,
medallion. Yeah.
okay, I can't stress it. Like, it really is that good on Brood. Like, I'm not trying to over exaggerate anything
Like
or play semantic. Like,
I understand that. Like I got all that. I'm just yeah. I'm mentioning pointless things again. I probably should stop.
well, no,
It's
I do see your argument. Like, there's a point to be made for like personal skill also like weighing a factor. So like in situations where you die when you don't have medallion, it can be said like, oh well, you just shouldn't go in there. You shouldn't overextend as far, etc. So forth. And there's
probably
something.
100 reasons for like everything why it
Yeah,
could have happened. Yeah.
yeah, I agree with you, 100%.
These things are annoying. Can you see like I'm losing like my things in the trees because they don't overlap and I don't really see that.
This is. I don't want you to do this too much, but I will say a small thing about Quelling Blade. The nice thing about Quelling Blade is you can cut those trees down and let your spiders out. But
Yeah.
don't spend too much time doing that because you'll waste a fuck ton of time on
Yeah, I think I didn't do it here anyway. So here, is this the right thing? I'm trying to harass him slowly, get him down a little with my spiders, bait him to use a stun or something, and then go in again.
Yeah, so if she ever gets like 2 nukes on your spiders, that's really bad. She has a lot of HP.
They're dead, yeah.
It's one of those things where like I hate to say it, but like you do have a lot of spiders. If you had medallion, you do a lot more damage. Now that you completed Orchid, this is a good timing. I think you flew the courier over the creeps though, so they had the opportunity. The enemy creeps had the opportunity to see the recipe on there if they were looking at it.
Yeah, I mustn't have been watching.
Yeah, just keep that in mind because that will reveal your items, and good players will not get baited by that. Here,
Yeah, it tends to happen a lot.
you can get a kill here.
Yeah.
Are you gonna do it? Nice. I think you are.
I think I do, yeah.
This is good. That's good. So that's really good. I don't think I need to tell you why, but just in case you didn't see it, that was a bloodstone that she had. Did you
Yeah.
see? Yeah. So that was
Yeah, I think I saw it later, not now, but yeah.
well, you can see it on her death. Like when she dies, it has a bloodstone has an animation.
Yeah.
The reason why that's good and noteworthy is you can tell your team now. You can be like, hey guys, Lena just died with bloodstone charges, and sorry. It's really good.
I think I was trying to separate my spiders here, but it stopped bouncing eventually. I think it only bounces limited ags, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna pause. Okay. 3, 2,
Okay, 2,
1.
1.
Pause. Okay, so everything that you just did in that play was really good, by the way.
Thanks.
You definitely that was one of those things that like you did something that you can get away with Orchid, but you can't get away with if you go Radiance first. So that play right there is one of those plays that, how do I put it, like it looks like it's one of those things that chalks that gives a point towards the Orchid category. It's one of the few things that like yeah, if you get what I'm saying. So I'll just start off by saying that like Orchid was a good item there for sure. That on top of that though, you didn't cancel an auto attack to place a web down. You auto attacked and then you placed a web down, which was good. So you saved yourself auto attacks. Furthermore, you kept your spiders bunched up with you. Which isn't dangerous, as weird as that sounds. If the projectile, like, yeah, it does have a limited number of bounces. So if it has a limited number of bounces and it's near your spiders, so long as it never jumps onto you, right, you can probably just safely remove your hero from the spider bunch and just let it bunch up around your spiders. Don't ever focus too hard on like microing out your spiders from the Lich ulti. It's honestly not worth the micro. He's gonna get a little bit of gold off of that, but it's much better that it bounces on your spiders than it ever is if you're like focusing on trying to, like, if you have like 5 spiders left and you have nothing else to do, then yeah, sure, micro that, but like there's usually something better to do than to do that. And it's kind of like Luna ulti. I'd rather Luna's ulti bounces on my spiders than on me or my teammates any day. So yeah, don't ever worry about like feeding spiders in that way. It's bad to feed spiders to mindless nukes, but to ultimates, I'll let the ultimate chew through my, like, that's one of the reasons why Lich is so shit against Brood. He's kind of good because he can reduce your attack speed, but once you get a BKB,
And the armor is also pretty decent.
yeah, the armor is pretty good. Just yeah, for the armor itself, and then mostly it's the attack speed. Like I fucking hate attack speed decreases when I'm playing Broodmother because Broodmother loves attack speed so much, because of the way her ulti works, giving her a bunch of bonus damage, and so all you want is attack speed to further promote that steroid. But it's the big thing of like I don't those elements of Lich suck, but his ulti gets so hard countered by your spiders that it's actually just too disgusting to like even mention.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm gonna continue.
That auto attack thing about the web as well. I don't even plan that. Like
I was
it must
gonna
have just
say,
happened.
yeah.
I could have just as likely have cancelled that auto attack with the web and then like died to a stun when she turned around with just enough health.
Yeah.
So I guess it's just.
So I was gonna say I did think like maybe that was the case. That being the case though, like you did it in this replay. It's something that like you should maybe pat yourself on the back for, but more so recognize that as being a good thing.
Try and do it in the future.
Yeah, try to do that in the future because again earlier like Brood doesn't have a whole lot of attack speed until she gets the talent, and because she doesn't have a lot of attack speed, every attack matters, right? Like you can't rely on like rapid fire attacks out, so you want to like make sure that every attack that you land is never canceled, right? So auto attack, place a web, auto attack again, not go up, you're about to auto attack, but oh my god, I'm about to be off my webs, so I'm going to cancel my auto to place a web. That's inefficient. Like it's better to just auto attack, apply your slow, and then place a web, and then auto attack again in between it.
So, something I kind of just sort of then, I don't know if this is something you develop through Dota, but like I can't think that fast. I can't be auto attacking and in that second be like, oh, I'm going off my webs. I will most likely like finish that auto attack. It's not because I know it, but simply because of the time it will take me to realize that I'm off my webs and then do that. Like I'm never like, about to place a web and then like, oh no, I shouldn't place a web. It's only after that I might realize that, oh, hang on, I cancelled an auto attack there. I don't know, like, is it just because I'm new and I don't have that much experience with these kind of games? Like, I mean, like 1,500 hours, or is it something that you develop like that split second understanding, or does it eventually just become subconscious? Because I think when I make those like good plays, like I think remember in the last replay where it was a Sand King ulti, and I somehow removed my spiders, and it wasn't a conscious decision. It was like just completely like I just sort of my brain and my body knew how to do it, not my mind. If you get what I mean.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. That's somewhat of a hard question to answer if I'm completely honest with you, because I can't. It makes me think way back to like my 2011 days when I first like started playing MOBAs in general.
That's a long time.
Yeah, when I first started playing MOBAs, the first MOBA I actually got introduced to. This is where like I never usually tell people to play League of Legends, but if you ever do play League of Legends, there's a lot of heroes in that game that operate on that whole like canceling your auto attack to get an extra auto in, if that makes sense. So like there's a hero that I used to play, his name was Trundle, and he has an auto attack reset, which means one of his abilities resets his auto attack and gives him a free one. So what he does is like his combo is like auto attack, use the ability, and then auto attack again, if that makes sense. And that's
Is it like a Weaver sort of?
No.
Or is it like a manual cast Weaver instead of a passive cast?
I'm trying to.
You know what I mean? Like.
Yeah. Let me try to think of a comparison for Dota. I don't know if there's any hero in the game that has it. I don't think so.
Is it like what's its name? Like if OD's passive was for cooldown instead of mana, like you'd cast a spell and like you'd have a 10% chance for it to randomly come off cooldown straight away, and you could use it again.
No.
Something like that, for example.
It's kind of like Echo Saber. So what happened was you'd auto attack, and then you'd use the ability, and then the ability would automatically auto attack. Like think of Legion Commander, when Legion Commander's Moment of Courage.
Oh yeah, alright. Yeah.
You know how when that procs, it like resets her auto attack and gives her an extra auto attack. Like she's gonna.
But it's an active cast, so like you have to press it for it to work.
Yeah, exactly. So Moment of
Courage. It seems like such a weird idea for like an active spell, almost like a waste.
There's a degree of skill in it, which is making sure that you maximize all of your auto attacks. What I mean by this is like you auto attack, and then you have to consciously think, okay, now after I land this auto, I want to use my ability to sneak in a free right click in addition to getting another auto attack off, as opposed to doing weird things like walking up and then auto attacking, and then when I'm like waiting a long period of time for my hero to almost have his auto attack back up again, and then using the ability. That's a waste, because then you're like you're not sneaking the ability in there, then you're just wasting an auto attack opportunity. It's really hard to explain if you haven't ever played it. Don't worry about it. What I'm really just trying to say is it translates over to Dota well from my angle, because I had experience doing those sorts of things. So in Dota, where auto attacks, because in League of Legends, from my experience, auto attacks in the early game are a lot less important than in Dota. In Dota, some auto attacks, like a Treant Protector does like 90 damage base. Like he can like right click of his
PL and SB are also. I think SB has the most like the highest damage and health. So like in a complete 1v1 of only auto attacking, Spirit Breaker lasts the longest out of any against any hero, and I think PL has the highest for like an agility hero or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. I'm just trying to say that like right clicks in Dota, like they matter a very large degree. I've noticed like
Hmm.
just the impact of like right clicking a hero 3 times in the mid lane is like huge compared to like in League of Legends where it's like it's mostly spell based just because the cooldowns are a lot lower and more spammable. And you have
That's what it seems like. Yeah, when I
yeah
watch it, it's like
yeah
they're only using spells and nothing
yeah.
else.
Again, I'm not trying to like critique League of Legends and call it a bad game. I'm just saying that like from my experience, how that translated over into Dota was really nice because in Dota,
Mm.
auto attacks are very important. So
Yeah.
knowing how to like time your auto when in between its cooldown, because when you auto attack, you have to like wait for your hero to like finish their animation or whatever before they do it again, or you can cancel the animation and then like do other things with that cooldown, so to speak. Um, it's imperative to be able to do these things to be efficient, and that was really I feel like we maybe focused too much on it, unfortunately. But that was really all I was trying to
Yeah.
demonstrate. Was you auto attacked with your ulti on, which was good, and then you set a web in between that, which was good, which was really good because again, like you made maximum use of your attack cooldown timer, which is good.
Hmm.
That's all I was trying to say.
All right. And
Okay,
then
so
I die here.
oh yeah, well we'll see. So 3, 2, 1 on
Two,
pause.
one.
Yeah. So
Radiant's top tower is under
Oh wait, no,
attack.
actually I survived. That was really lucky. He missed. Did I right click the Ursa or did he just?
he didn't miss. He just he didn't have detection except for like there was a
Oh, so
sentry.
I went out of the range of the towers. Oh,
Yeah, I was
that's
gonna say.
really lucky. I
Yeah,
don't think I'm gonna survive.
and then what was really ironic was once you left the range, right? Then the Lich casted his dust as opposed to casting it just prior, because he was relying on the
Yeah.
tower. I think he was greedy, or he just didn't realize, but the tower was the only source of
Mm.
vision that he had there. So once you left the tower, he was like, oh shit, I actually need to use my dust here.
Yeah.
But it was too late.
Yeah, I've noticed a lot of people have slow reaction. Maybe it's because they're
I think it's because
a bit more newer as opposed to being like just bad and like having played a lot of experience. So, like they think of things like, hang on, he's invisible. Oh yeah, that's right. I have an item that yeah, press. Oh, okay, I'll press it now.
that's
And so
probably
like they have that, yeah, they have that process going on. I think I still remember when I had that. I remember when I didn't even know like towers could hit you, and I'd be standing there, and then I'd be like, oh, hang on, I only have like 100 HP left. I better walk out now.
yeah.
And
That's,
yeah,
that's probably what it is. I was gonna say another key piece of information that you found out that last fight was that Ursa
I
has
died a
no.
bit, I think.
Radiant's
Yeah, no,
top
it didn't matter though.
tower is under
An
attack.
important piece of information that you found out last fight was that Ursa. I'm actually gonna pause. 3, 2, 1.
Two,
Pause.
one.
2709. One important piece of information that I noticed was last fight you noticed that Ursa got his blink dagger, right? That's how he blunk on you in the first place. When you find out
Mhm.
those kinds of things, I don't know if you knew that. I mean, I personally, watching your player perspective, haven't noticed that because I don't see you looking around the map too much. But if you knew that prior to this, then that's fine. If you did not know that, then that information caught you off guard. That is one of those things where if that was the first time that he ever revealed his blink dagger, you would want to tell your team that kind of information because
Mhm.
then they can make more like I know it sounds weird, but like babysitting your team is a good way to just make them play better. Like at the end of the day,
Yeah.
just playing as though your team is a bunch of 5-year-olds and just trying to babysit them and telling them, important. Don't spam them with messages, but just conveying important information can often just make them play better. So a lot of people always complain like, my team is so shit, they never play as well as I do. Well, why not just help them play as well as you do, right? Like, why not just tell them the things that you are recognizing? Then they'll start playing like a lot better.
Yeah.
They'll notice that you want to win the game. They'll keep in mind that like, hey, Ursa has a blink dagger, and you'll notice I know it's kind of boring information, but it is relevant. Like this Ursa's gonna
Yeah,
kill.
I definitely understand how like relevant it is. It's one of the things I work on. I actually did, like I definitely saw it with my own eyes, but like I didn't really like sort of tick in my head, if you know what I mean. And that's kind of
Yeah.
one of the things I'm trying to work on, like being conscious and aware of what's happening. So like I try and think about before every game what item timing sort of need to look out for. That like probably because I just haven't died to a Ursa that's gotten a quick blink yet. That's why I don't know it. But like things like that happen often, like Axe Blink, for example. Like that's like one that's ingrained into my mind. I probably need to like have more experience and die more times and lose more games to certain things before I start really watching out for it. Because I don't know how far just simply thinking about it when I haven't really experienced it will help.
Another reason
If
why I
you,
think I hear what you're saying. One of the reasons why I
Mhm.
think it was hard for you to consciously like lock that information away for later so that you could tell your team was because it was in a intense or a high tension situation or like
Yeah,
a high tense situation. Like you weren't just like farming a creep camp and then you saw somebody else get blunk on. You were the person
Mhm.
that the Ursa blunk on. So like you were running away and like you were pretty scared and like you didn't have enough time to like immediately type, oh, Ursa has a blink dagger, right? Instead, you were
Mhm.
running away, and then after you were safe, you probably forgot, like, phew, like I just barely saved that or survived that
Mm,
situation. You probably weren't thinking like,
maybe.
yeah, I don't
Mm.
know. I'm just trying to like present. So
Yeah, that's definitely
yeah,
possible. But like,
um, one thing
I
that
think like that's less of an issue for me though. It's more the consciousness thing that I need
okay,
to like work on. I
okay,
guess. Yeah, but
yeah.
that's possibly
No,
why.
you may be right too. You probably have a better idea probably of what your mind thinks than I do. One thing that I do notice here is you're pushing this tower. And I know that we talked about this before, like way back. I made a disclaimer. You don't have to play Brood the way that I play her, but and you did tell me this going into this that you played a like kind of heavy rat style Brood here. I personally like. I'm not a huge fan. I'm not an advocate for rat Brood whatsoever. I don't think the style is strong. I don't think this is how the hero should be played. Again, you don't
Hmm.
need to play the hero that I play her, but I'm just saying like
Hmm.
this is something that I personally I would like to bring this to your attention and say like, hey, what are your
Yeah.
reasons for doing this game? I personally don't think it's necessary. I don't think you needed to play this kind of way, even with an Orchid first, even without a Radiance. Like, you don't need to do this to win the game, and it's probably one of those big reasons that we were talking about earlier as to why you lost the game.
Hmm.
Yeah. What are your justifications for it?
Um, I don't know. A lot of it's probably gonna be bad, and I think deep down I know you're right, but like I don't know why, but like I sort of feel like a subconscious like I don't know. Maybe it's like some sort of stubborn part of me that's saying like no, I'm not gonna do that, but like maybe it's misconceptions, but basically it is 1K. It's I have done a lot of like I have had quite a bit of experience here. Maybe it's not enough. Maybe I misunderstand things, but yeah, I think relying on myself is better than relying on teammates because then if my teammates say stuff up and I rely on them, we're screwed. And so I guess I kind of want to play heroes not necessarily that win by themselves, but like win sort of or win by themselves but not winning by themselves, if you get what I mean. Like I guess that's why I played like Arc Warden and I like playing mid heroes because like if I go carry and my support doesn't do simple things like harass the offlane and they're just like stealing my last hits and stuff, I'm pretty much screwed. That's why I don't like playing carry unless I absolutely have to. That's why I'd rather be like solo offlane, solo mid, or jungle. And so like maybe that's part of like the spin on the wheel. Maybe you get like good teammates. Maybe you get teammates who are like just being really greedy or upset because someone else took their mid, and so they're going to steal last hits from you as a support. But I rather like do have this sort of play style. I guess it probably does suit me better, and I think maybe I'd win quicker and maybe I'd win more the other way. But I think I don't know. Yeah, maybe I'm just being stubborn and I should listen to you, but I'm not. I don't know.
Uh,
Like I'm not saying that I'm not listening to you. I'm just like maybe that's like why I'm still going this way even after I've seen your way.
Again, I'm not trying to say that you have to play the way that I am or that I do. And in fact, like I mean, you can win games doing this, so it's not like terrible. I just don't think it's
Mm-hmm.
like the best way to play the hero, and I do think that you'll lose more games than you win playing this hero and or playing the hero this way. And so what I'm really trying to convey as a message to you is, um, do what makes you comfortable, but
Mm-hmm.
the idea of like winning by yourself or the notion that you were trying to present to me earlier, I think that is a
Mm-hmm.
big misconception. Um,
Yeah, it
the o-
probably is. Yeah.
the only thing you're going to be doing by yourself doing this style is losing by yourself because
Mm-hmm.
I told you this earlier. I really do feel like Dota right now, at least the meta is right now like really favoring this kind of mid-game team fight, like brute strength kind of style of play. And Brute does this really well. Brute can group in the mid game with like a big item really well. She does that very well. She has a lot of vision that she gives to her team. She herself is invisible, which is very good because then you've constantly forced detection out of the enemy supports, and if they don't have it, then they get fucked. And just in general, like you're a support killer, like you three-shot supports. You are very good in team fights in the mid game, and you can do that very well. When you don't take advantage of that aspect of the hero, she's like she 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 takes up one of the most important roles on your team, which is the offlane, which is typically the initiating role, and you just remove that from your team. So let's set up like a Venn diagram here. One team has like an Earthshaker and then four other heroes, right? They have a strong initiation hero and then they have like four other okay mid-game team fighty heroes. The other team, right, the team that you're on, has four really good mid-game team fight heroes like Gyrocopter, I don't know, Tinker or like Lena or some shit like that, who knows? And then two supports that are pretty good at supplementing a team fight. But then they have like a Broodmother offlane who just wants to rat all game, right? The team with the Earthshaker and 4 average to to good, but not great, team fighting heroes, in my opinion, and I know this is like looking at the game in a vacuum, and it's probably not that educational, but I'm just trying to speak from a philosophical standpoint. I truly do feel like that team has a greater chance at winning, just because of the strength of initiating a fight, the strength of just walking up and like 4-man echoing a team, right? That's so powerful. Broodmother doesn't have that to provide to her team, so what she does instead in team fights is gives her team the beginning advantage of making sure that you have enough vision to appropriately count for the enemies, where they're going to be, etc., so forth, and then you have the strength in a team fight to have that third right-clicking core to just beat down enemy supports really, 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 really quickly, and then also turn on the enemy core, and give them a 60% chance to miss all their auto attacks, as well as like a crippling slow with an insane base damage on it that's gonna you're gonna add up. Your damage you can out damage your position 1 carry in the mid game quite easily as Brother. So what I'm trying to get at here is you bring something to a team, but it's not in the same fashion as an Earthshaker. But if you play the style that you're playing, you bring nothing to your team, and then they have to play against an Earthshaker, right? And that spells disaster. Like playing against 5-man or 4-man Echo Slams when you don't have like any counter initiation yourself, and instead you just have some rat on your team that's just gonna go around and like deal a little bit of chip damage to a tier 3 tower, even if she forces a rotation by the enemy Shadow Shaman. Like it's just so much better to send your support to deal with Brood and have your initiator initiate on 4 other heroes. Like a support for an initiator is not a good trade, right? You don't want an initiator to not like, and that's kind of what you are technically. You're not actually initiating fights, but that's the role that your role takes up off lane. Like I
Can
said.
I say something quickly here?
Yeah.
If the way I see it, I don't know, they sounded a bit cocky as well, I just realized. But it's if they're 5v4ing, I aim to be either like there if I'm not in a good position, or if I'm in a good position, I push, and my team may lose, they may get team wiped completely except for me, but then I'm in an excellent position. If they send 1 hero down, I have an Orchid, I silence that hero, I can basically delete them out of the game or force them back into the base like this Shaman. And then they're fighting 4v4, and it is a bit more even, although they do have that initiation hero, but it's a lot better. But I can definitely get that kill there and get the tower. If they send 2, then I can't really do much except for harass them a bit, but my team is now fighting 4v3, and even with initiator, only 2 heroes to back them up, they're not going to win that one very often.
I agree with
That's
that.
the way I'm seeing it.
I agree with that scenario. That is the one time where when I'm ratting as Brood, I feel pretty good. And I do it sometimes. I'm just gonna let you know. Like I don't only ever team fight as Brood. Like sometimes I do rat, and when I do, and there's 2 heroes on my side, like I don't strictly rat. Like I'll just rat for a certain part of the game because I need to farm and I can't fight. And on those times it's okay to rat. And also in those times I make sure that I'm applying enough pressure to draw 2 heroes back, because that's the only time when ratting is actually acceptable. Drawing 1 hero back early, like I said earlier, like I know that you contested that point saying you can always get the kill and the tower guaranteed when there's only 1 person there, but you've done neither of those yet, and I'd be interested to see if you actually do that. I don't think you're going to kill the shaman, and furthermore I don't think you're going to kill this tower. I could be wrong, but you haven't done it yet, and you tried to do it earlier but you failed.
Okay.
Also, speaking to that point, because this is the bigger point that I was going to mention, I know that you said that you think it's more even. I don't think so. I do think that 1 support traded for 1 initiator is very poor. And like I said, that's kind of what you are, and that's kind of what the shaman is, right? The shaman is their initiator. He's not even really gonna he's their support. He's not even gonna really support too much. Like he's gonna cast Hex and Shackle in a fight, maybe Ether Shock, and that's kind of it. He doesn't really want like wards. I don't know. I mean, they can do a lot in a team fight, but they're not going to typically. They die very easily nowadays, and really they're used as a pushing mechanism. And I doubt this guy's even gonna cast wards in a team fight anyways. I don't know if he'd be able to use them effectively. Whereas for you, like again, you're trading out a huge, like you could be an Enigma, right? If you drafted any other hero than Brood, you could be a black hole for 4 seconds on 4 heroes. That's huge. You could be like a I don't know, fuck. I don't play. I play offlane, but I don't play too many other heroes besides fucking Brood.
Yeah.
You could be like a Centaur, like a Stampede, like a huge speed boost for your team to run away or initiate or run away from the enemy and stuff like that. You know, you could be like a fucking Pit Lord or something, like a big pit. But instead,
Yeah.
yeah, I hope my point's getting across. So
I don't know. I get that, but like, it's Maybe it still applies. I'm still gonna kind of go against that. Maybe I am wrong. Maybe I'll realize it, and if I realize it, then I'll understand it better,
Okay.
hopefully. But I have tried that a lot. I've tried a lot of different tactics. I've tried being like Enigma. Like I've tried like being that LC that jungles until level 6 and gets a then straight away starts roaming, starts getting kills, and even when I'm successful, I find that most of the time, then it's left up to what my team can do with that. If I like 4 man like Black Hole as an Enigma, and the 5th person is like someone who can't really do anything about that. I find that there's so many times like I have tried it, like maybe not a huge amount of time, maybe I still have a small sample size, but it's just really frustrating when something like that happens. So I'd rather lose sort of doing the wrong thing, but knowing that I did the wrong thing, than lose thinking I did all the right things, but my team just couldn't follow up on it. And so yeah, maybe when I get to like maybe to like 2K or 2.5K and the game averages start going up higher, maybe I will like there'll become a threshold where it instantly starts becoming that's definitely the better way. But I think at least for now, this is probably the way I'm going to stick with, and I still probably have a while to go before I think I'll be anywhere near where I should change it. Or maybe I'm completely wrong and I'm just doing the wrong thing stubbornly. But I think yeah,
That's fine.
like
That's fine.
I definitely will take in everything you say, and I will remember it probably later, and I'll be like, is it time now? But I've tried team fighting and I've tried stuff like that, and like from what I've watched of my teammates in like a lot of these games, if I wouldn't have won it pushing the towers, I wouldn't have won it sticking with my team anyways.
Okay. That's fine.
So yeah,
That's fine. Um,
right.
yeah. So we'll
But, like,
continue with this replay then. Is that
but
okay?
yeah, like everything you said, like yeah, I remember from the videos. I just have like one question in that scenario, since the if I am fighting with my team, what would I be aiming to get, or is this all dependent on like the heroes? Would it still be like Orchid if there's like a Quap or someone who I want to make sure doesn't cause too much chaos, or would it be like the Radiant Solar Crest thing that
I
doesn't
almost
exactly work much anymore?
no, I disagree with that, by the way. I almost never go Orchid if I'm trying to team fight with my team. The reason
Hmm.
for it is I just don't feel like it has enough team fight presence from the offlane
Yeah.
position. Like I said, instead of being an initiation hero, you're instead opting out to play Broodmother, which is a pretty hard right-clicking hero, like hard hitting, like
Hmm.
right-clicking, not like difficulty
Yeah.
hard, although she is kind of
Hmm.
difficult. But you're trading out an initiating type hero for like this big, potentially at least, right clicking, um, somewhat durable with like radiance. You create survivability. Also, she has pretty high base HP if you take the HP talent, which I do encourage you to take. So you're somewhat tanky, especially with a BKB. And then like you hit hard. You're elusive and you have a lot of free vision. That's kind of what you're
Hmm.
trading her out for. So I personally like to like build a radiance for that reason of like going
Hmm.
in, trying to right click really hard, and then also burning the supports alive even though they're not near the team fight. It makes it
That,
difficult for blink type heroes to get out of the scenario that you know
hmm.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
just
it's really good for counter initiation if they have a Magnus or Tidehunter just waiting at the back.
yeah, and just
You
trying
just
not
go
to,
past, disable
yeah,
it. Yeah,
trying not to get
you don't even have to like reveal yourself. The
yeah,
burn
trying
damage. That's good.
exactly, trying not to get burned in those or like
Oh,
caught into those scenarios like where you get
alright.
RP'd, like just standing back and just playing like as
Yeah.
though you're a third core. That's kind of what I do
Yeah.
is like Radiance. I do
Hmm.
sometimes
Oh, I
go
have
for
to. Sorry, I have to take a call right now. Someone's calling me. I'll be back as soon as I can. Probably a few minutes.
is it okay if we just end it here by chance? I'm actually getting quite sleepy. I gotta go to bed. Oh, okay, well, I'm gonna tell him. Anyways, guys, hope you guys enjoyed this. Maybe it made you kind of sleepy and maybe you didn't listen to too long of it, but nonetheless, I hope this helps somebody out there. Probably won't upload too many more of these before I upload something else because I don't want my content to get dulled. But at the end of the day, I'm just here to help you guys. And if anybody found this enjoyable and thinks that I should upload another excerpt of my coaching sessions, then I'll go ahead and do that. So peace out. You guys have a good night.